Imagine the weight of 9 long years pressing down on your shoulders as you step back into the house that once claimed to be home. The gravel crunches under your tires like brittle bones. And there she stands, your mother. Arms folded like a fortress, guarding secrets you thought time had buried. My name is Alex Rivera. And this Easter dinner in Boise was supposed to be a bridge. But it became the spark that ignited a fire I'd kept smoldering inside for far too long. The air inside the ranch-style house hung heavy with the scent of glazed ham and that artificial rose spray she always overused, masking the staleness of unspoken resentments. My father, Miguel, slouched at the head of the table, thumbing through a worn-out fishing catalog, his eyes avoiding the room like he was scanning for an escape route. My younger brother, Carlos, sprawled out with his feet up, scrolling through his phone, boasting about the luxury watches he'd flipped at the pawn shop that week. Made bank on a Rolex, easy $5,000, he crowed. And Mom, Elena, lit up like he'd just won the lottery, piling extra stuffing onto his plate. That's my golden boy, always hustling smart. I slid into the chair by the window, the one with the cracked vinyl that no one else wanted, feeling the familiar knot twist in my gut. The conversation orbited around Carlos, his latest scores, the flashy car he was eyeing, how he was building an empire from scraps. Mom shot glances my way, but they weren't warm, they were measuring sticks, always finding me short. See, that's what real ambition looks like, she said, drizzling gravy over Carlos's ham with a flourish. Dad mumbled something non-committal, his catalog a shield. Then her gaze locked on me, fork hovering like a judgment. And what about you, Alex? What have you brought to this table lately to deserve sitting here? The room froze, the only sound the drip of the faucet in the kitchen. Carlos smirked, leaning back with his arms crossed. Dad finally lifted his eyes, but his mouth stayed shut. Mom's lips curled. You haven't earned your place here. The laughter started with Carlos, a sharp bark that echoed off the walls, then Dad's chuckle rumbled low, hidden behind his napkin. Even the ants at the end of the table tittered, their eyes darting to me like I was the punchline. Heat flooded my face, but I forced a steady smile, the kind that hides a storm. Lucky for me. My worth isn't up for your vote, I said, my voice calm as a frozen lake. I pushed back my chair, the screech cutting through their mirth like a knife. Mom's expression soured. Don't you dare turn your back on this family. But I was already moving, keys jingling in my pocket, the door slamming behind me like a final punctuation. She followed to the porch, her voice slicing the night air. You're shaming us all, after everything we've sacrificed. I didn't pause, sliding into my beat-up sedan, the engine roaring to life. Through the rearview, I saw her silhouette, hands on hips, Carlos peeking from the window with that smug grin. Dad never emerged. As the house faded into the Idaho darkness, the road ahead felt less like escape and more like destiny, a path carved from the scars they'd etched into me. The drive stretched endless, the radio crackling with static until I tuned into a late-night blues station. The kind Mom despised for being too whiny. Her words looped in my head, a venomous echo. But the wind whipping through the cracked windows began to dilute them, carrying away the dust of rejection. Pittsburgh had forged me in isolation. Denver had taught me resilience. But this was the catalyst. The quiet vow forming in my chest, I'd build something so undeniable they'd choke on their own silence. No tears fell that night. I'd learned long ago that vulnerability was a luxury for those who hadn't been betrayed by blood. Instead, I gripped the wheel tighter, the dashboard glow illuminating the resolve hardening in my eyes. Easter was done, but my reckoning had just begun. Flashback to those suffocating Sunday dinners of childhood, where the oak table groaned under plates of overcooked pot roast, and family meant favoritism wrapped in tradition. Carlos. 5 years my junior and the perpetual golden child. Always got the lion's share, the juiciest cut. The extra scoop of mashed potatoes. The endless accolades for his street-smart schemes. By age 10, he was running lemonade stands that somehow turned into neighborhood hustles, pocketing cash from odd jobs while Mom paraded his entrepreneurial spirit like a trophy. I'd sit in the shadows, pushing peas around my plate, as they dissected his latest ventures, bike repairs, yard sales, anything that smelled of quick money. Sports weren't my arena instead. At 11, I unearthed an ancient desktop from Dad's cluttered shed, its fan wheezing like an old man. Nights blurred as I devoured online tutorials, my fingers dancing over grimy keys, unraveling the magic of circuits and code. The local library loaned out basic video cameras for school projects, so I'd trek the Boise Ridges at dawn, capturing sunrises over sagebrush, the raw beauty of forgotten trails. Mom spotted the camera slung over my shoulder one afternoon. "What's that gimmick for?" she sneered, wiping her hands on her apron. I stammered about editing clips in the school media lab, dreaming of documentaries on local wildlife. Her laugh was a slap. "Videos won't pay the rent. Alex, stick to something practical like Carlos, who's already flipping comics for profit." That Friday, Carlos scored a big sale on vintage cards, and the dinner table erupted in praise. My words lost in the noise. But I persisted in secret. Neighbors knocking with broken gadgets. Mr. Lopez's router acting up. Mrs. Chen's old PC freezing. I'd fix them for a 10 spot, squirreling the cash in a hidden jar beneath my floorboards. By 13, it funded a cheap camcorder, and I compiled my footage into rough edits, storm clouds rolling over the foothills, eagles soaring in crisp detail. One evening, I left a USB drive on the counter for Dad, hoping he'd see the spark. Came home to Mom tossing scraps into the trash. "Cleared out the clutter," she said flatly. I fished it out. Files corrupted from spilled coffee. "That was my creation," I whispered. Throat tight. She shrugged. "Creation doesn't fill the fridge." Carlos landed a gig at the corner store. Dad shuffled in, saw the mess, and turned away, grabbing a beer instead. Upstairs, I booted the old desktop, opening a digital journal I'd started at 11, a chronicle of experiments, failures, triumphs in binary. The first entry, rise from nothing. I typed through blurred vision, lines of code becoming my armor. Those evolved into simple scripts I sold on forums for pocket change. Mom never probed my locked door. Carlos's petty cash hauls earned the spotlight. High school divided us further, Carlos charming his way through deals, crowds cheering his street savvy. I fixed school computers for credits, teachers urging me toward tech scholarships I scraped for in midnight applications. Mom intercepted one form. "College for daydreams," she mocked. Carlos is set with his network. I hid everything after that. My portfolio living online where anonymous praise, stunning angles, raw emotion, mended the voids her indifference created. Senior year. The jar held enough for a one-way ticket. But I bided time. The journal swelling with blueprints for apps that could change lives. Carlos graduated amid fanfare, a block party with fireworks and his future mogul toasts. I grilled burgers in silence, then retreated as the acceptance from Carnegie Mellon pinged, partial scholarship for software engineering. Pittsburgh bound. I printed it, slid it across during supper. Mom skimmed, lips thinning. Halfway across the map, "We're not funding the rest." Fail. And don't crawl back. The sting was familiar. A dull ache. I sold my gear, packed essentials, including the journal drive, and left at dawn. Dad carried my bags to the bus stop. A single pat on the back his farewell. Carlos partied elsewhere. The Greyhound journey dragged through dust storms and layovers. But Pittsburgh emerged like a promise, steel bridges arching over rivers. A grit that mirrored my own. The attic sublet reeked of mothballs. A cramped space with a view of smokestacks. But it was mine. Classes hit like a freight train, algorithms. Debugging marathons. The scholarship gaps meant diner shifts flipping eggs at dawn. Lab cleanups. Night deliveries on icy sidewalks. Exhaustion gnawed. But in a late-night session, I met Riley Hayes, fellow coder from a Oregon mill town. Her sketches transforming my clunky ideas. We bonded over crashes, birthing Vitalink, an app linking rural folks to urban docs via seamless chats and calls. Failures mounted, dropped connections, glitchy interfaces. But the journal logged each. Rise from nothing, a mantra. We pitched at campus events, snagging seed funds after an all-nighter rewrite. Graduation blurred. Riley headed to Denver for design work. I followed. Our startup formalizing in a dingy co-work space. Denver's mountains loomed like guardians as Vitalink grew, thousands of users. Clinics in remote valleys praising its simplicity. Features expanded, symptom trackers. Prescription portals. Media buzzed, Forbes spotlighting us as disruptors healing divides. I scanned family socials one night, mom's posts of church bake sales. Carlos's boastful car pics. She'd viewed my profile. Lingered on the article link. Then ghosted. The betrayal deepened. A silent wound festering. No outreach. Just erasure. Vitalink hit 50,000 users. We hosted a Boise Health Expo. Booths buzzing with demos. There, amid the crowd, Mom appeared frail, eyes pleading. She tugged me aside. I was blind. Alex, forgive us, come home. My response was ice, home? That vanished with your laughter. I walked away, her plea dissolving in the hum. Whispers followed, Carlos's schemes unraveled, deaths from shady flips. Job loss. Repoed rides. He slunk back home. A shadow in his old room. Mom's community shunned her. Whispers of failed kids echoing in empty pews. Dad buried in overtime. Bills piling like accusations. I drove out of Boise that night. The expo's success a balm on old scars. Their downfall wasn't my handiwork, but the price of their choices a mirror to my rise. Silence had been my weapon. Success the blade. And in that quiet victory, the cost weighed heavy, a family lost. But a self-reclaimed,